Hey guys, welcome back to the Drip and Hartnell podcast with myself, Aidan O'Connor, joined by, please introduce yourself, Abi Louise,
Hello, I'm Abi Louise. Hello. Hi.
Jimmy Wolfe,
I am here. Hello, my name is Jimmy Wolfe.
and the lovely Connor Chadwick.
I'm Connor Chadwick. Hello.
I don't know why I picked a very sultry voice to do that in.
and today we've watched Father's Day with Christopher Eccleston and Billy Piper. So, guys, what did you think?
Loved it.
I absolutely. It's just as I said, I haven't seen that one in a long time, and it really does hold up well. It's just so much about it, and I've just, as I like to do when we do these, I like to go through the wiki and just have a quick look for some interesting trivia. Now, I mean, I think we can all agree that Christopher Eccleston's performance was on top form, possibly even some of his best work in that episode. During the filming of this, he was really ill. He had a cold, and he still performed that well.
Well, it's Christopher Eccleston.
That's what I mean. This is this consummate professional.
You can just imagine him just taking some tablets in between scenes.
Blowing his nose whenever he turned his back.
No, with Eccleston, it's like, well, my character doesn't have a cold, so that's I don't.
And apparently his father was undergoing surgery at the time of filming. So he was clearly also, Jesus, he had a lot going on.
God.
Honestly,
and then you wonder why he had a trouble with production.
Yes.
What an episode. I mean,
it
just like, it's episodes like that make me just go, Doctor Who is definitely worth it. Like, it just, the stuff, like the way they just, like, you take, at the beginning of series one, you just feel like, it's like Rose, you kind of establish her world and everything, but the dad, you never really see that much. This whole episode just goes, this is why, and this is why, don't mess with time, guys.
Yeah, and I noticed a few other interesting things about the episode, which is that even though, she wears a denim jacket for the majority of it, but there's a scene where she doesn't, and it's the same hoodie from episode one. And it's a nice kind of callback to family life, because we'd seen the family life anyway regarding, like, through Aliens of London and World War III, but that was with context of aliens and everything like that. This was now going back to a domestic, but you're looking at the domestic from the father perspective. So it's almost like you kind of did. I don't know if they planned it this way, but it looks like a sort of small reset to have her in the same clothes as the first episode when she got introduced with Jackie, and that's introduced with Pete. And it's almost like kind of like, I don't know, I found it a nice sort of coincidence.
You could say it's like they're kind of saying Rose started off as she did, wanting, in the back of her mind, wanting to save her dad, but now the Doctor has shown her, like, I guess she's been learning over the course of the series a lot of the things that the Doctor has set in, like the rules. This is the rules. These.
Or maybe it's showing that even though she changed that, it hasn't changed her.
Yeah.
It didn't do anything really, because it hasn't. She's still the same. She's still in turmoil. She's still feeling these problems. And also, I think it really explored on something that I hadn't really looked at properly. I'd looked at a lot to do with, like, the law with the Reapers and how the TARDIS was working and stuff. But a lot of things like really went over my head was the whole duffel coat thing with Pete and Jackie. And like all those sort of things where you realise that, again, I love... I love imperfect characters in stories, because that means they're human.
Yes.
it's implied that basically he was just trying to pick up a duffel coat, and the rack of duffel coats fell on top of them, and then Jackie found them under the coats, and he going, "Oh no, yeah, I just missed my ticket." But it's implied that he was basically regularly having affairs.
Yeah.
And it's implied as well from the fact that when Rose says, "You were always there for us, you could always count on us, and you and Jackie were still together in the future," as lies, she didn't know him. And he just goes, "That's not who I am." I wouldn't be surprised if his imagination was at some point, "I'll be by myself." And I feel like what Rose described was what he aspired to be.
When he was asking, are we still together? Am I always there for you? What am I like in the future? You kind of think he's not asking because he wants to know his future. He's asking because he wants to know, do things work out? I really hope I'm not going down the path that I think I'm going down.
Yeah. But then the description, because Rose never knew him properly, she makes up what she thinks would be good for her. That's what she wants.
It is wishful thinking, though, isn't it? Really, because you do, like, especially when you don't know that person, you do try to only see the positives. And obviously, Jackie's not going to turn around to her little girl and be like,
your dad was horrible.
Always going to tell her the positives of Pete and not the negatives.
Yeah. And like it's only when you get older that you kind of find out a little bit more, because when you're a kid it's more innocent. You're giving them an innocent view, but then obviously later on you're kind of like, this is the other side,
Because the other thing as well is obviously there's the debate as to the Doctor knowing how serious interfering with past events could be as to why he would let Rose do this in the first place. And the thing that only obviously occurred to me later watching it at the very end is, like I said, is when the Doctor reappears having been resurrected and he says, "Go to him." It's kind of, I got the impression, again, because it's been a long time since I've seen this, that the whole point of that is he did it because he wants to give Rose, as I think Aidan said, the closure at the time that he never got, because he's obviously fresh out of the Time War. As far as he knows, his entire family is dead or gone, and he never got to say goodbye to them. So Rose is turning around to him and saying, "I want to do this incredibly dangerous thing just so I can say goodbye to someone who I've never had the chance to meet." And I think it's at that point he wants her to have what he knows he can't. He's not doing it to show off and say, "Yeah, I can do anything," and things like that, which is, I think, the impression you get at the time. He's a bit of a, he's having a bit of a flex, but I think he's typically, as the Doctor is, he's motivated out of good intentions.
It's like you say just then, he flexes at the very beginning. She goes, "Oh, can we go and do this?" And he goes, "Why?" And he goes, "Oh, well, no, then we won't then." And then his literal words are, "I can do anything."
Yeah.
And then literally she does something, he goes, "No, you can't do that." But like literally it's a case of he gives her the confidence as well to do what she does in the story, which is stop Pete from getting run over and killed. But that's the thing, I always found that Nine and Rose are so different to 10 and Rose.
Definitely.
If you look at it, I know obviously the Doctors, they're different personalities, but ultimately it's one life across multiple faces. 10 is what it is, the product of basically Rose healing him.
Yeah.
9 was the hurt soul from a war, who he would like, not obviously physically, but on a verbal level, he would lash out even at Rose. A lot of people I've seen have made a lot of comparisons to early Six and Perry, where he would just kind of be snappy and she'd be like, "All right," but he'd bite back and put him in his place as well. So they'd kind of have a bit of a fight, and they're sort of like, not like, a fight of kind of like wits, but ultimately they'd always find their way back to one another again. They both stuck with one another through their own problems.
Yeah, I see that. 100% see that. The other thing I loved about this episode was how minimalistic it was. There wasn't a lot of locations. And the locations when they were shot, like the bit in the vestry with just Pete and Rose, the lighting, the orangey, solemn kind of And we were saying about the Reapers outside the windows as well.
Hmm.
The CGI stands up.
It's so, again, it's the simple things that are done so well. And I said at the time, the only thing that I would have changed rewatching it would have been if we'd seen the Reapers less. Because when you see them outside the church, you just see them in glimpses of them. It makes them a
shadow.
So it makes them so much more terrifying. And I think if you did it so you didn't see them, do it in the way that they've done it with the, you see the red vision and you possibly see people, you see people being attacked, but not fully on screen. If they'd hidden the Reapers more and we never really got a good look at them, it would have really just tipped that off. But having said that, as Abby's just said, the CG for 2005 stands up to them so well. And the bit that I think one of the bits of CG that really stands out to me is there's a shot, I think it's after the Doctor has died, you see one of them clinging to the massive window outside the church and his claws are sort of scraping the stone and you see the claw marks appearing. It's just, it's so, again, it's so simple because it's minimalist. You don't need a lot. You didn't need this big expansive area. It's just
you've given me a bit of an idea as to like what would I like what could you have done if you didn't show the Reapers as much? You could have shown people just getting eaten by nothing and seeing the orange glow when they eat people just emitting from around them.
That would have been good.
And then the only time you ever see a Reaper was when the one that kills the Doctor shows up. And that's when you see it for the first time. You see the terror, the Doctor then getting eaten by one, you see the orange glow, and it all connects together as to what you're actually seeing. And then, but they remained largely invisible, and you just think
that would have made it not only great, but that would have made the Doctor being killed so much more terrifying.
Yeah,
or the idea that
imagine
it
if
only
you saw the shadows as well.
It
so
only appears after it eats the Doctor. It's consumed that much energy.
Well, no, him. I was going to say, and I wasn't necessarily going to say that. I was going to say like when it appears because of the paradox.
I see.
The two roses meeting would have fueled it enough to suddenly become
that's
physical.
Better. That's much better.
And that's why maybe
I think the shot outside when we see the Reaper for the first time would have been better if we hadn't had that first shot. Because it's really static and it's literally just us staring at this thing, and it's like
I tell you what,
CGI wise, it's not as good as the CGI is. Having to look at a CGI thing for that length of time, it makes it less scary.
What it reminds me of, and it's a thing that I often do, especially when I'm watching horror films or something with a creature in it that you never quite see. It's what I call the Cloverfield problem. To track to another thing, it's like, I don't know if everyone here has seen Cloverfield, but at the very end they do that shot where they pan up to the monster and it lingers for about 5 seconds on it. That was too much. You didn't need to see that. And it's the same with this. Throughout that whole film, you see the monster very, very briefly. And I think it's the same with this. If you so for example, when they all rush into the church and they slam the door, all you needed to see is as the door just shuts, you just catch a glimpse of it.
Shadow.
And that's it. But even despite all of that, like I said, it still holds up really well. It proves that you don't need a big, massive set when you've got a good, strong story.
Talk about the soundtrack.
Yes, of course.
I just wish they have released it.
Yeah.
They released Series 1 and 2 together because they had the National Orchestra then.
Yeah.
But back then they didn't, and I'm just like, I find a lot of score or like the unreleased, isolated scores on YouTube now, and it's just great.
Yeah, true.
I will say, even though like the music is wonderful, I just love like certain scenes, like the one where obviously he talks to the couple about how like I've never had a life like that. When when they were talking about getting a taxi, it's like not getting a taxi home. It's just I don't know what that just made me think. 9 is just the most like, how to put it, he's most with the people, if you get what I mean. Like he just feels like if you saw him on the street, he's just like another guy, a casual guy, not like the classic doctors. Like he's a very normal looking doctor to everyone else, and he just I feel like he relates a lot better.
But it's also something that you got to think about it as well. He's fresh out of war.
Yeah,
everyone else has carried on, like everyone through time almost everyone through time has been able to live a normal life, and he's saying I never lived a life like that because he's, well, certainly recently he's not been able to do any traveling, not even been able to be himself. And yeah, like considering how like the episode's only 45 minutes, there's so much in there. And Russell, like, for example, that scene, it's only like 2.5 minutes.
Yeah,
but it has such an impact. And because there's very minimal music as well, even though the score is good, when you're having those moments in the church, they don't put music in, and it makes it feel longer, because if it had music in there, it would flow. It gives off that kind of eerie silence where all you're hearing is the Reapers occasionally flying by.
I mean, I was going to say, during that speech, I don't think you even hear the Reapers. It's solely focused on very much and I like the idea as well that when he has like those moments where he's, talking about, I've never had a life like that, we're seeing the softer side that Eccleston always wanted to bring into the role. I think you can definitely see more of that side of him to it, because he has his moments throughout the series when he's quite sort of, the whole point, he's meant to be dark because obviously Ninth Doctor previous out of the war, but we see him have these funny moments, we see him have these tender moments, and you can really sort of see how I was gonna say, you see how it could have been, but you can certainly see more of what he wanted to do with the role. And it's nice that it's in there, because I think it gives him a better dynamic with the story, because this isn't a story that you could have ever made an action-packed story. It was always going to be more about the narrative.
Yeah, and I think it's like, as well with Eccleston, I think it's a story where I don't think, not to be rude to any other Doctor, but I feel like Eccleston really is, in my mind, the only Doctor who can do that type of story, because he just, I don't know why he just like, because look, as much as I love 12, and I reckon
out of all the other modern Doctors, 12 the closest he could have got to doing a story like this.
Because with David and Matt or Jodie, I don't know, it's
too energetic.
You need a Doctor who's older, like who kind of looks more older and more like just someone who
a little bit more down rooted, I feel.
Yeah, who's with the people.
With the people. But I think script wise, it's simple but effective. Like the concept is easy to follow.
It's not overcomplicated.
I remember you saying, if you want to introduce people to Who, this is quite a good story to start on. Because it's not really got a connection to anything that's going to affect the rest of the series, not really. But it's good as a standalone, and I would agree with Aidan and say it would be quite a nice one to introduce people to the Whoverse.
Yeah, because it's also very like, very, how to put it, they've kept it within they could have tried to keep it under budget, I guess, because I can imagine they've just gone, yes, we've done a lot of episodes where we have extended ourselves.
Well, you got to think, like, a couple of episodes, most of the budget for this particular season would have gone on like second episode, which is all spaced and aliens, and like it's just nice to set something in a church in Wales.
For any Doctor Who fan filmmaker, this is the basis for a good story.
Yeah.
Keep it minimal sets, good story. But I think the other thing that just occurred to me upon reflection is, certainly not in the conventional sense, because obviously it does have futuristic elements with the Reapers and things like that, but the fact that it is one place, one time, simple setting, on reflection, it's got an element of the historicals of the classic series.
True.
Because you're not dealing with this sort of big, open, expansive, this isn't the future, this is set in the past, and it is very much of the time. I know, we were joking things about like the phones and things like that, and the clothes and the hair, and the
pushchair that was like tipped over on the side.
Yeah, but it's just it really does have it. I think that's potentially also why it makes a good jumping on point for people, because you're not thrown too much too soon. I think if you took that story and you had set that similar idea set in a futuristic place or set in something like that, it would have been too much. You've got a simple setting, simple sets, simple aliens, simple premise, and it just, again, it doesn't make it overcomplicated to a new audience. We often talk about, a good place to start a jump on point is the start of any Doctor, but as you say, you don't really need to know anything prior to this one to really enjoy it. So I think I would definitely say it's a good pick for people who haven't started.
Yeah, those were all very good, very strong episode. So, next time on the Dripping Hartnell podcast, we will be back onto Classic Who, but not one. We'll be jumping onto the 5th Doctor, so Abi will get all giddy and very excited. And we are watching Snake Dance episodes 1 and 2.
Yes.
So,
oh yes.
Yeah, good old bit of the Mara, and yes. I'm a big fan, so stand by for that one. So thank you for joining us. Hope you listen again soon. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.